see, we'll start soon. Yeah, I always promise we'll start promptly at 12:15, right? And we'll do so today. Yeah. I think some of you guys encountered an accident. Apparently, the car is still overturned. Still there, yeah. Right. So some people may be late. But anyway, this week we are actually very, very honored to have Rama with us. Right? Rama is an old friend. I knew Rama back in the 90s when he was actually in the industry group in IDA. Right? And when I did my startup, he actually helped me quite a bit from the IDA standpoint. And recently, Rama started together with a friend of his, right, CIO Academy, looking at, I would say standard, I'll let him explain what it's all about, right? But I think it's important for us as tech entrepreneurs to actually understand what resources we have outside of what we do, right? For example, while we are not CIO, as he mentioned, right, we do need to know who are the CIOs. Because as tech entrepreneurs, we may get business from them if they understand where we are coming from, right? Because the one reason why we are doing this is because by having informal relationship, right? When there's a presentation, it's not buyers versus seller. It's not investor versus investee, right? There's already some rapport in there, and people understand where you are coming from, right? So I think it's important. So that's why I want to extend this network to as many people as possible. So without further ado, let me invite Rama to share. Thanks, Rama.
Okay, so I was told that there's a certain spot that I have to operate within to keep my image within that camera. Okay, but anyway, very good afternoon to all of you. As Chuck has mentioned, yes, call me Rama. More comfortable with just a four-letter word called RAMA, Rama. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, when Chuck called me and shared with me about doing this session, I was a little hesitant. Reason being, I said, who is it for and what is it about? And he says, it's for technopreneurs. And the reason why I was a little hesitant was that, and as I go along, you'll know why. I'm not a natural entrepreneur. Okay. Now, what do I mean by that? Okay. What I'm doing now happened by accident, not by design. Okay. So if you can say I'm an accidental entrepreneur. Okay. And as I go along, I will try and put it across to you and explain to you why. Okay. So, but anyway, I'm now the deputy CEO of a startup. I would say still startup because we are about 2 years old, right? We call ourselves the CIO Academy Asia, and our stakeholders, basically, when we say a community of leaders, primarily CIOs. Okay, CIOs who are the tech buyers. Okay, they are the ones who will determine what to buy, at what price, and what is needed for the organization. Okay, so they actually are a very important aspect of the whole equation where we have the tech suppliers, i.e. probably most of you, right? Whether you're a startup company or you're involved in developing some kind of a tech solution, so you would represent the suppliers. Okay, this community will represent the buyers. Okay, now keep that in your mind when I talk more about CIO Academy, because for a very long time, when I was with the government for 30 years, I realized that especially in Singapore, there is a gap. There is a big gap, between the suppliers and the buyers. When I was in IDA, I spent most of my time on the supply side. Big part of the national champion for IT. We spend a lot of time developing capabilities, encouraging people to start their own companies, helping companies to innovate, right? And all this was very much on the supply side. Okay? After it's all dressed up, after you have all your products and all your services and all the solutions, what's next? You need to sell it, right? Right? It's no point having a wonderful product, a wonderful service when at the end of the day, nobody comes to buy from you, you know. So it was also my responsibility when I was in IDA to try and bring the buyers, and then you have a marketplace, right? Let me tell you this, it was very challenging, especially when I was in IDA. Very challenging. And I'm not only talking about mainly the private sector. Even talking about, I was in the public sector before, even getting the CIOs from, the GCIO, trying to bring them to, for an opportunity to see what was available in the market was also very challenging. Okay? So now that I'm outside, in the private sector, I'm glad that with my involvement in CIO Academy, I can spend more of my energy on the buying side, which is exactly what I'm doing, okay? And I'll explain more. Okay? So, by the way, this picture that you see here, okay, has Bill in the picture as well, and myself. If you look carefully, Bill Yu is there with showing the peace sign, It was taken in Bhutan. Okay, yeah, with a glass of wine, of course. It was taken in Bhutan a couple of months ago. We had a very nice thought leadership conference over 3 days in July, and we managed to get close to about 140 C-level executives, to join us for this event. Okay, it was a thought leadership event. It was very successful. Thanks for the participation of all the people. But I'll explain to you also what happened during the conference. Okay, some interesting things happened during the conference as well. Okay, let me go back to the folks behind CIO Academy Asia. Okay, my partner Glenn Francis actually was responsible for starting this company. Okay, he had this idea a couple of years ago. Glenn used to be a CIO for more than 20 years with several large organizations, and he was also involved in associations. Some of you may have heard ITMA. ITMA has got probably the largest community of CIOs, and he also started another association called Ideation. Okay, so he's got a lot of experience in running associations, and also he was a CIO. Okay, and I think after working for 20, 30 years, he had this idea that he wanted to start a company to build a stronger relationship with the community of CIOs, and develop activities around them. Okay, and so what happened was, after he started CIO Academy Asia for a year, at one event, I bumped into him. Okay, and that was the time where I just left the public sector. So think about this. I've been with the public sector for more than 30 years, right? And here I am leaving the public sector, coming out to the private sector. A lot of anxiety, I'm already 58 years old, right? So I was looking for my next career move, at a very late age of 58 and going into the private sector. So I took the safe route, right? So when I left the public sector, I said, look, I'll just operate as a consultant, a solo consultant. By the way, I'll show you this interesting card of mine. And this is the card that I had, with me when I first came out, as a consultant. I had this caricature of myself. I thought it was a good thing to have because I was going to take it light, light-hearted. I wasn't looking for anything, serious. I just wanted to enjoy the ride, take it easy, after being more than 30 years already, as I said. And I had a couple of projects as a consultant. I was fortunate because when I was in IDA, I had a lot of opportunities to work with foreign governments. Okay, so I was doing some consulting work to help them develop their industry development master plan. Hi. And while I was in between projects at an event at ISS, I bumped into Mr. Glenn Francis, and he says, Rama, what are you doing? I said, well, I just left public sector. I'm just doing a couple of projects on my own as a consultant. And he said, hey, I started this organization called CIO Academy Asia. I'm looking for people to join me. Why don't you hop on? I said, look, I'm not looking for anything serious. I just want to find some things to do to occupy my time. I will do a couple of projects for you, I said, not as a full-time employee, but I'll just do a couple of projects for you. And then if I like it, maybe I'll go, full-time. So that's how it started, right? So going back to what I said earlier, it's purely by accident. It's not as though I was looking out for it, right? And when I started doing some of the work for CIO Academy Asia, I realized that it was something I could do. It was something I enjoyed doing, right? In the public sector, I was doing this thing called industry development. Industry development means you mingle with the industry, you find out what are the gaps in the market, and then you come up with policies, you come up with programs. Of course, I was fortunate enough to be the one who used to give out grants. So, the community was quite close to me in that sense, subsidies, So I had a lot of deep relationships, with the industry. So happened, this job that I'm doing now also has a lot of dealings with the industry, and a lot of the friends that I've met over the last, say, 15 years, they still remember me, and the good thing is, they're supporting me, So that was a big plus for me, in my current role in the private sector. I've got all these partners and friends who are supporting me, So it makes my job more enjoyable, I'm enjoying this ride, and I'll share with you my reflections so far. It's been about a year since I've been on this job, So now, what is CIO Academy, right? It's basically a thought leadership company. Okay, so what we do in short is that we put together events, we put together programs, and we bring the community of tech buyers to share their challenges, their pain points about technology. That's it, very simple, right? It's no rocket science, but there is a little difference there because there are many companies out there that organize events, a dime a dozen, right? If you go out, very competitive market in this space, right? How do we differentiate ourselves, right? So Glenn and myself, I think one good thing going for us is, again, which I'll stress later, is all about relationships, right? The community that we have in Singapore, the tech buyers, the CIOs, we have developed relationships with them, so much so that we can pick up a phone, and if you tell me today that you're going to have an event tomorrow and you need 15 CIOs, I'm quite confident within 24 hours I can get them to come for your event. Okay? It's not cold call. That's the difference. I'm not making a cold call. I'm calling people whom we know. People from different organizations, from different industries. So that's really our strength. Okay? Glenn has got lots of traction with the private sector CIOs. Okay? Myself, naturally, coming from the public sector, I've got pretty good links with the public sector. Okay? So the combination works, right? Both Glenn and myself, the chemistry works, the partnership works, and listen, the first year and the second year, our revenues multiplied 10 times. 10 times, okay? And seriously, I couldn't believe it, right? But it has happened, Our problem now is scaling. We don't have that many resources. The company only has about 6-7 people, besides Glenn and myself, another four people in the operation side, But we are walking away from deals, which is not good. because we just don't have enough resources. But so I'll explain to you. We are at that point now where we have to figure out what's next, right? And I'm sure many of you as entrepreneurs, when you start your company, the first 2 years or 3 years, will be a different challenge, getting traction, getting the demand, getting people to understand your products, your services and all that. But once you have grown to a certain stage, the second stage of your challenge would be, how do you scale the company, right? You can continue to cruise, right, and just make sufficient, or do you want to take the next leap where you want a little bit of a hockey stick kind of a elevation to your company, right? I'm sure all of you here, I'm probably preaching to the converted here. I mean, you all should know better than me that that's really the challenge I'm in right now. Okay, now more about CIO Academy Asia, and I just try and put across. I want to put across that we are trying to sell value. Okay, we are not just another event organizer. Okay, there are many, as I said earlier. Okay, how do we articulate that value? How do we make the experience good for people who have come to our event, and then they go back, they say good things about the experience, so much so that other people want to come for our events, so much so that they want to come back for our next event. That's what it's all about, right? Because if you don't create that wow factor, that's it, yeah? Over time, nobody will want to come for your event, okay? And with that, you grow your brand, okay? Right? Yeah. So, what's the value? That value, it so happens, is in sync with what is happening today. People want real life experiences. People want to hear from industry practitioners. Gone are the days where paper qualifications are the most important thing. Okay, so even today when you hear our ministers, when they go up to talk, they talk about lifelong learning, they talk about experiential learning, and it's basically experiences that people gain on the job, right? And that's what we are selling in terms of value. All our practitioners, all the people who get involved in our events, when they give a talk or they present, they are crystallizing their experiences, actual experiences on the job. And they're trying to put that across to the audience to say, this is what I'm going through, these are my pain points, these are my challenges, this is what I did, and I'm sharing it with you because I'm quite sure at some point in time you will be also going through what I'm going through, and I hope that by sharing with you, you can go back and maybe use some of the techniques or some of the solutions that I've used during my work. That is priceless. Seriously, really, these days, it's priceless. Invaluable. People will pay to listen to practitioners sharing their stories, and that's the value that we are selling. Okay, so our community of leaders, which actually right now spans across, we have gone beyond Singapore, we have gone into Southeast Asia in a big way, right? We started off very much in Singapore, but now we have gone into KL, Malaysia, Penang, Manila, Jakarta. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to Hong Kong. Our database has grown, our community has grown. So we have probably about more than 10,000 in our database of C-level executives and -1. So we try and target our community and keep it at a certain level, because thought leadership is all about sharing your views with your peers, right? So we have to keep it at a certain level, right? And so far we've been quite successful in doing that, So whenever we hold an event, be it by invitation or word of mouth, sometimes word gets around, it must be pegged at a certain level. Okay, only then the conversations become meaningful. Because peers want to hear from their fellow peers about what's happening in their job, what's the problem with certain technologies, how did you overcome this problem? How do you overcome the challenges? And at that level, it's like like-minded people, you know, meeting of the minds. They feel more comfortable, and then they'll take that home as lessons learned, and hopefully they can apply it in the job on a day-to-day basis. Okay, so that's how you see those pictures there. We deliberately use those pictures because our sessions are not big sessions, you know, 20, 10, 15, you know. We keep it at a certain level because we feel you want to encourage people to share, and you want to make the discussions more meaningful. It's better if you keep it at a certain level, you know. It shouldn't be too big, right? Just pitch. In fact, if you ask me, 15 to 20 is about the right numbers. Okay, so we can have a round table discussion, or we can have a seminar style, or whatever it is. We keep it small. You know, of course, for certain conferences that we hold, the largest that we've held so far, like the one I showed you, the picture about Bhutan, is about 140, but that's a different scale altogether, and that one involves different kind of planning, which I'll touch on later. Okay. This is what we do, right? So the first pillar is all about thought leadership. I told you events, you know, we build the community, and then we get them together, and then, you know, we discuss certain issues, certain problems with certain technologies, or, you know, what's out there, what is available, you know, what is the trend, you know, what are the insights. Okay, all this is being done during the thought leadership. We also have a pillar called social empowerment. So it's quite interesting. This is our CSR, right? Many of our community folks who have already reached the pinnacle in their careers want to give back. You know, they feel that there's more that they can give and help the society, right? Especially for the underprivileged or those people who do not have access, you know, or the expertise to use certain technologies. So many of our community leaders want to give back. So we have created a pillar to allow them to do that as well, you know, besides just looking at it from a business perspective. Okay? We have what we call leadership challenge. Okay, this is quite interesting. The leadership challenge is that we try and create experiential learning. We take people to places, exotic places, you know. We bring them there for a day or two to discuss certain topics, and then we also want to create the element of fun, you know. And that seems to work, okay. So people who come for some of our activities don't only stay for the 1 day, 2 days conference. They extend their stay 2-3 days after that to explore the new place. Example, I talked about Bhutan, right? We were there, we had a 2-day conference. Quite a number of them stayed on for a 1-week program after the conference. And we organized activities for them to explore the country. You know, meet up with people, understand, you know, how culture, and, you know, in the process, you know, learn certain things that you would not get from the books, you know, but you have to be there, you know. So the whole, it's a package. Okay? The conference is only one part of it, you know. The other part that is also very attractive to many of the participants is exploring new experiences, new countries, new culture. Okay, so we have that element also built into, you know, our thought leadership, right? Especially when we take people out of Singapore. Okay, so in a way, there's this hidden value also that we provide, you know, which is another attractive factor. Okay, and of course, the usual topical seminars, right? I mean, being in the tech industry,